The stage was set for what promised to be a heartwarming reunion between two of country music's biggest stars, Blake Shelton and Kelly Clarkson. On the vibrant set of The Kelly Clarkson Show, fans had been buzzing for weeks, ever since the announcement dropped that Blake, the charming cowboy with a quick wit and a twang that could melt hearts, would be gracing Kelly's stage to talk about his latest album, his life on the Oklahoma ranch, and maybe even spill some tea about his time on The Voice. The audience was electric, their cheers filling the studio as Kelly, with her signature warmth and infectious laugh, welcomed Blake to the couch. The chemistry between them was undeniably. After all, these two had spent years trading playful jabs and heartfelt compliments as coaches on The Voice. Their banter was the stuff of legend, with Blake's sly humor and Kelly's quick comebacks always keeping fans on their toes. But today, something felt different. As the cameras rolled, Kelly kicked things off with a cheeky question about Blake's decision to step away from The Voice after 23 seasons, teasing him about whether he was too old for the red chair or just tired of losing to her team. The audience roared with laughter, but Blake's smile tightened just a fraction, his eyes glinting with something that wasn't quite amusement. He leaned back, crossing his arms, and fired back, "Kelly, you know I left because I was tired of carrying the show while you were stealing my artists." The crowd hooted, but there was an edge to his tone that made Kelly's eyebrows shoot up. She laughed it off, tossing her hair and saying, "Oh, please, Blake. I didn't steal them if they just knew talent when they saw it." The playful sparring was classic, but as the segment continued, the jabs grew sharper. Kelly brought up Blake's new single, suggesting it had a pop vibe that might not sit well with his country purist fans. Blake's jaw clenched, and he countered, "Says the pop star who's been trying to go country since you met me." The audience gasped, sensing the shift. Kelly, never one to back down, leaned forward, her smile now a challenge. "Oh, we're going there, Shelton. Let's talk about authenticity. They know how many of those cowboy hats are just for show." The crowd erupted, but the tension was palpable. Blake's laugh was forced, and he shifted in his seat, clearly caught off guard. The conversation veered into dangerous territory as Kelly pressed him about his evolving sound, his high-profile marriage to Gwen Stefani, and whether he was selling out to chase mainstream success. Blake, usually unflappable, started to fidget, his fingers tapping on the armrest. "You know, Kelly, not everyone needs to scream their lungs out to prove they're real," he shot back, a clear dig at her powerhouse vocal style. The audience oohed, and Kelly's eyes widened, but she kept her cool, steering the conversation toward a commercial break. Behind the scenes, whispers spread among the crew while Blake looked like he was ready to bolt. When they returned, Kelly tried to lighten the mood, asking about Blake's ranch life and his new ventures, like his collaboration with Taylor Sheridan on a singing competition. But Blake wasn't having it. He interrupted her, saying, "You want to talk about my life? How about we talk about how you're always trying to one-up me on this show?" The accusation hung in the air, and Kelly's smile faltered. She tried to pivot, but Blake was on a roll, recounting a time on The Voice when Kelly used her block button to snag an artist he wanted. "You play dirty, Clarkson, and you know it," he said, his voice rising. The audience was eating it up, but the crew exchanged nervous glances. Kelly, ever the professional, tried to laugh it off, saying, "Blake, you're just mad because I'm better at this game than you." But the barb hit harder than intended. Blake's face darkened, and he stood up, tossing his mic on the couch. "You know what, Kelly? I don't need this. I came here to talk music, not to get grilled by someone who thinks she's the queen of everything." The studio fell silent, save for a few gasps. Kelly's mouth dropped open as Blake stormed toward the exit, his boots echoing on the polished floor. The cameras cut away, but the audience was buzzing, phones already out, ready to flood social media with the drama. Had Blake Shelton just walked off The Kelly Clarkson Show, the internet was about to explode. As the dust settled from Blake's dramatic exit, the studio was a whirlwind of chaos and confusion. Kelly, ever the consummate host, tried to regain control, flashing a megawatt smile and joking, "Well, folks, looks like Blake's got some cows to tend to back in Oklahoma." The audience laughed nervously, but the tension lingered like a storm cloud. Behind the scenes, producers scrambled to figure out what had just happened. Had this been planned? Was it a publicity stunt for Blake's new album or Kelly's show ratings? Or had things genuinely spiraled out of control? The truth was, no one was quite sure. Blake and Kelly had a history of playful rivalry, but this felt different, raw, unscripted, and uncomfortably real. As the show wrapped, Kelly stayed on set, chatting with fans and reassuring them that everything was fine, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of worry. Meanwhile, Blake was nowhere to be found. Crew members whispered that he'd stormed out of the building, ignoring calls from his team and even Gwen, who was reportedly on the phone trying to calm him down. Social media was already ablaze, with hashtags like #BlakeWalksOff and #Kelly vs. Blake trending worldwide. Fans took sides, some defending Blake's right to stand up for himself, others praising Kelly for holding her own. Clips of the heated exchange were dissected on X, with users analyzing every word, every glance, every tense smile. Some speculated that Blake's exit was a reaction to Kelly's teasing about his authenticity, a sore spot for a country star who'd spent years defending his roots against accusations of going to Hollywood. Others wondered if there was more to the story, maybe a lingering grudge from their Voice days, when Kelly's strategic coaching often outshone Blake's laid-back approach. Posts on X suggested Blake had been very mad about something before the show, though no one could pinpoint what. Back in the studio, Kelly's team worked overtime to manage the fallout, issuing a statement that the exchange was all in good fun and that Blake and Kelly were great friends. But the internet wasn't buying it. Fans pointed to a 2018 rumor that Blake and Kelly had an off-screen feud during The Voice, with sources claiming their huge personalities clashed behind the scenes. Could this be the rekindling of an old beef, or was it just the pressure of live TV pushing two old friends to the edge? As the day wore on, Blake finally broke his silence, posting a cryptic message on X. "Sometimes you just gotta walk away from the noise, back to the ranch." The post racked up thousands of likes, with fans debating whether it was a dig at Kelly or just Blake being Blake. Meanwhile, Kelly took the high road, dedicating her next Kelly Oaks segment to a soulful rendition of Blake's hit Austin, a move that left fans teary-eyed and wondering if it was an olive branch or a subtle shade. The media frenzy only grew, with outlets like Newsweek and Hello digging into Blake's recent activity, his new singing competition with Taylor Sheridan, his life with Gwen Stefani, and even his regret over a tattoo he got years ago. Some speculated that Blake's stress from juggling multiple projects, including his Oklahoma ranch and a new family member, a pet, not a child, despite rumors, might have contributed to his outburst. Others pointed to Kelly's relentless scheduling, her talk show, her music, her parenting duties post-divorce as a reason she might have pushed Blake too far without realizing it. The truth remained elusive, but one thing was clear: this clash had struck a chord with fans who loved the dynamic between these two larger-than-life stars. By nightfall, the video of Blake's walk-off had millions of views, with YouTubers and TikTokers recreating the moment in dramatic skits. The question on everyone's mind was whether Blake and Kelly could mend this rift or if their friendship, once a cornerstone of The Voice's charm, was fractured beyond repair. As the internet churned with theories, one thing was certain: this was no ordinary talk show moment. It was a cultural phenomenon, a clash of titans that had everyone talking, tweeting, and tuning in for what would happen next. The aftermath of Blake Shelton's dramatic walk-off from the Kelly Clarkson Show was like a wildfire, spreading across every corner of the entertainment world. By the next morning, every major outlet had a take, from TMZ to People, with headlines screaming about the explosive confrontation and speculating about what had pushed Blake to the edge. Some reports leaned into the narrative that Kelly's teasing about Blake's authenticity had hit a nerve, especially given his recent ventures into more mainstream projects like his collaboration with Taylor Sheridan on the Road, a singing competition that promised to shake up the genre. Others suggested that Blake's exit was less about Kelly and more about the pressure he was under between his music career, his high-profile marriage to Gwen Stefani, and the constant scrutiny of his country cred. Maybe he'd just had enough. On X, fans were relentless, with some praising Blake for standing up to what they called Kelly's over-the-top hosting style, while others accused him of being overly sensitive. One post even claimed Blake had been very mad about something before the show, hinting at off-camera drama no one could confirm. Kelly, meanwhile, was back on set, her smile as bright as ever. But those close to her said she was shaken. She'd always seen Blake as a brother, someone she could rib without consequence, thanks to their years of camaraderie on The Voice. The 2019 incident where Blake pranked Kelly during a Voice audition, only to get a playful punch from her and a scolding from Gwen, had been a fan-favorite moment, proof of their close bond. But this time, the playful punches were nowhere to be found. Kelly's team pushed back against the narrative of a feud, pointing to their history of duets, like their 2012 performance of Don't You Wanna Stay and their 2023 rendition of Austin on her show, as evidence of their friendship. Yet, the internet wasn't ready to let it go. Clips of the walk-off were remixed with dramatic music, turned into memes, and analyzed by pop culture vloggers who speculated about everything from Blake's ego to Kelly's alleged diva tendencies. Some fans brought up Blake's past with Brandon Blackstock, Kelly's ex-husband, noting that Blake had cut professional ties with him after the divorce, choosing his friendship with Kelly instead. Could there be unresolved tension there? Others wondered if Gwen Stefani, who'd been a constant presence in Blake's life and a former voice coach alongside Kelly, might weigh in. Gwen's silence on the matter only fueled the speculation, though her recent posts about her new album Bouquet and her life with Blake suggested all was well at home. As the day unfolded, Blake made a surprise appearance at a small Oklahoma venue, where he performed a stripped-down set and avoided mentioning the incident entirely. Fans at the show described him as genuine and kind, treating everyone with respect, which only deepened the mystery of his outburst. Kelly, meanwhile, used her next episode to address the elephant in the room, albeit indirectly. She opened with a heartfelt Kelly Oak cover of a Gwen Stefani song, a move that had fans buzzing about whether it was a peace offering or a subtle jab. "I love my friends, even when we don't see eye to eye," she said cryptically before moving on to her next guest. The media, however, wasn't ready to move on. Outlets dug into Blake's recent interviews, where he jokingly claimed to listen only to his own music at home, a comment that now seemed less like humor and more like a sign of his confidencia or arrogance, depending on who you asked. The clash had also reignited debates about authenticity in country music, with some fans arguing that Kelly, with her pop roots, had no right to question Blake's credentials, while others defended her as a versatile artist who'd earned her place in the genre. As the week wore on, the story showed no signs of slowing down, with talk shows and podcasts dissecting every angle. Would Blake return to apologize? Would Kelly invite him back? Or was this the end of one of TV's most beloved friendships? The world was watching, waiting for the next chapter in this unexpected saga. Days turned into weeks, and the Blake Shelton-Kelly Clarkson clash remained the talk of the town, a pop culture moment that refused to fade. The internet was a battleground, with fans and critics alike picking apart every detail of the walk-off, from Blake's stormy exit to Kelly's stunned expression. On X, the conversation evolved, with some users sharing throwback clips of Blake and Kelly's best moments, like their 2023 duet of Austin or their playful banter on The Voice, pleading for a reconciliation. Others were less forgiving, with one user claiming Kelly had gagged Blake by calling him out, framing her as the victor in this showdown. The media frenzy reached new heights when Hello published a story about Blake's earlier appearances on Kelly's show, where he jokingly complained about not having a photo on her backstage wall despite being a frequent guest. Was that lighthearted moment a hint of deeper resentment? Fans wondered if Blake had felt disrespected all along, his walk-off a culmination of small slights. Meanwhile, Kelly's supporters pointed to her relentless schedule balancing her talk show, her music, and her role as a single mom post-divorce from Brandon Blackstock as proof that she was too busy to hold grudges. Blake, on the other hand, seemed to lean into his back-to-the-ranch persona, posting photos of his Oklahoma life with Gwen and their animals, as if to say he was above the drama. Yet, the absence of any direct apology from either,